All right, Dante, welcome to the podcast. Today we
you.
have Dante Ciaramella from Monmouth University, fifth-year senior. He's graduating in May with a finance degree. Dante and I have a long relationship. He went to Monmouth Regional, where I used to teach and coach, and I watched him grow up as a baseball player, watched him from this short little freshman work his butt off to become one of the best pitchers in the state of New Jersey, get recruited to go to Monmouth University, and I've been dying to get him on this podcast. So Dante, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So one of the first things, as we were already talking, is you're going in your fifth year.
Right.
How is it different with your mindset going in the fifth year as it was going in your first year as a baseball player?
So I think the biggest difference, at being a freshman, you really don't know what to expect. You know, you hear things like from people you may have played with in the past, like, you know, colleges like this and like that. But I think as a freshman, I was just so new to it and I was so eager to learn. Whereas this year, you know, I have my plan, like I have my routine at this point. So it's just really like trying to perfect those things and just to play the best I can this year for my teammates for sure. But I think, you know, having been through it for 4 years at this point, I wouldn't say I have a good grasp on it just because I feel like nobody does, you know, but at least in my own space, I have a routine and just the way I go about things, I feel like is much more crisp and much more like in sequential order as opposed to when I was a freshman. I was just trying so many new things, you know, to see what would stick.
Yeah.
But
and you're a pitcher.
Yep.
So all about the mind game. 100%.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And so you jump from high school to college where you were this incredible athlete at Monmouth Regional, probably our best athlete. And now you're going in to be a small fish in a big pond. So tell us about that adjustment.
That was a huge adjustment for me, to be honest, just because, you know, when you're younger and especially in a small town like Eatontown, Monmouth Regional, like you're used to, you know, almost being like prepared. You always feel prepared. Yeah. And you're always ready to have success, you know, because that's what you've been used to. When you go to a place like Monmouth, you know, I played with my freshman year, Trey Dombrowski, who's with the Astros now, Rob Hensey, who's with the Reds right now, and then Dan Klepchak, who was an all-conference performer, all freshman. So, you know, I already knew that I was behind those guys to start. So I knew I had to, you know, kind of get my things together and you know, work towards my spot, like earning a spot there. So that was big. And I struggled definitely at some points. You know, my junior year, I had a really tough year. Just honestly, mentally. You know, I called my mom up one day and I was just like, you know, I wake up every day and I feel sick, but I'm not. You know, and that was really tough for me to deal with. And like I struggled on the field, I struggled in the classroom. And, you know, after that year, really just taking a step back, and I was just like, I need help. You know, I need to go talk to somebody outside of who I'm used to, you know. Whereas like, you know, I always go to my mom, like I'm really close to my mom. And so, you know, I used to go to her for things and like talk to her about things. And I was just like, I think I need to like speak to someone, you know. And we have a great psychological performance, or just you know, just the mental health center, I call it. You know, and there's so many different opportunities for you to talk to people there. And, you know, I set it up through school. I talked to somebody for, you know, 6 to 8 months and I got myself back on track, and I had the best year of my career last year.
That's amazing.
So, you know, just seeing that flip from one year to the next. I had the worst and then I went to the best. And
so you were like, talk about resilience, right? You're admitting as a guy, which is really hard, hey, I need help. So much courage in that. Like so much courage to advocate for yourself, to say, let's do this. And something you and I were talking about earlier is putting in that training, not just physically, but mentally. So for 6 to 8 months, you learned how to mentally train your mind. And it's taken for granted as an athlete.
No doubt.
Right? So we talk about why it's stigmatized.
Right.
Right? So did anybody on your college team, which I would love for high school kids that are listening to this, talk about mental health?
So I think I had the pleasure of being around guys like, you know, my friend Trey and Rob and guys that, you know, were on the path to the next level. Right. And, you know, I think they gave me the opportunity to see, like, you know, sometimes not everything is going to be all right, you know, and like sometimes you need help from other areas. And I'm not saying like they ever struggled mentally, but I felt like I had a great set of teammates that allowed me to, you know, they never really made me feel bad or made me feel like it was wrong to ask for help.
Yeah.
You know, I just had a great support group around me, and even my coaching staff has been awesome for that.
Yeah.
And, you know, we sat down after, like I said, my junior year, and they were just like, you know, like, I feel like you just need to go have fun playing baseball again. And I was like, I agree. You know, like, I've just been dealing with so much, and like I lost the passion and like the aspect of fun, which is what I was used to my whole life. Like, I played baseball not just because I was good at it, because I loved it, you know. So I think just having that group of supporters behind me, and obviously my parents, you know.
You have a great support system.
Yeah, 100%. And like nobody ever made me feel different.
That's so awesome to hear.
For you know, going to ask for help or whatever it may be. Yeah,
that's really cool to hear. I mean, I hope, you know, that anybody can have that to be able to get better as a player, right? Look what you did. You were down in the dumps, and then now you have the best year of your career. It's no coincidence.
Right.
And that's what we need athletes to see.
For
Definitely. So as far as like, what is some of your strategies that you use?
So my big thing is when I was going bad, and it's not even going bad, it's just I never looked at it the way I did after, you know, like receiving help or receiving a different way of looking at things.
Sure.
You know, I was so outcome oriented.
Okay.
And the fact that, you know, if I didn't see a result, like that really like messed with me. So like just being outcome oriented in the fact that, you know, I was so worried about what was coming next that I was never really truly focused on what I was doing that was right in front of me.
Yeah.
You know, and I think just like I said, in the message I sent you before, just like being where your feet are has been the biggest thing for me.
Great quote.
And, you know, that to me, at least, that's just, you know, whatever I'm doing, is it like I'm sitting here talking to you right now, like my mind isn't anywhere else. If I'm driving home, like that's a big thing for me, is like I'm driving around all the time and my mind starts to wander and starts to think about, you know, tends to be negative. You know, you're thinking about like all these problems that you have, and like, how am I going to get over this? And I think just like when I'm in the car, like I'm focused on driving, I'm focused on listening to my music. If I'm at home sitting on the couch, if I'm watching Netflix, I'm watching Netflix. You know, I'm not thinking about, you know, what's coming tomorrow, what's coming a week from now. I think just fully enjoying what I'm doing in that second has helped me out a ton.
Took a lot of work to do that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No doubt.
A lot of reframing.
Yes. And like you catch yourself, like I'm trying. I'm like, you know what? Just focus on what I'm doing. Like, just watch TV, dude. You know, and like I catch myself starting to, you know, revert back to those thoughts, you know, like thinking about constantly worrying about what's coming next.
Yeah.
And I think just the more you realize it and you see that, you know, I'm falling back into this, is where it's easier to, you know, reset yourself. Like, all right, you know what? Let's clear your mind.
Yeah.
And let's just focus on
becoming
what's going
conscious
on right
of
now.
it, right?
Yes.
You know, and the more you do that, the easier it becomes. So you're like almost rewiring your brain to control the controllables. It's kind of like how I like to share it with my athletes. You know, it's like, it's what do I say to myself? Like we were talking about, like, what's that word that you say? Like, hey, change. And then you get back and refocus, because you can't be successful when you're thinking about the last play. You can't be successful if you're thinking about what's not going to happen in the future.
100%.
It's the only thing you have is the moment. And so, but what does happen, and you can talk about this because I was a Division I athlete too, is the pressure of being a Division I athlete. What are people saying? If I'm not producing, well, what's going to happen? You know? So, and if you don't learn to get a hold of those thoughts, they can go into the next thing.
Right.
You know, and that's what athletes really need to see, is that you get a hold of those and you're going to finish out your career successful, but then, hey, it's real world.
Right.
You're still going to think those thoughts.
Right.
You're still
100%.
going to have to, I mean, you're going to graduate and you're going to be like, okay, what do I do now? Now it's going to be a mind game of, I am going to get a job. Right. I'm going to take this job and be in this moment until something new comes along. And that's going to be another lesson for you to learn.
Yeah. Because the most thing I'm scared about is like the schedule, you know, like I'm so used to like waking up and having like 17 different things to do.
Yes.
Whereas like, you know, I know my friends that are working now, they're just like, dude, once I get off work, it's just like, what do I do?
Yes.
Like I go to the gym, but then like I get home and it's just,
the
you know, where do I go now? You know?
Biggest adjustment.
For sure.
Yeah. And a good perspective on it is like, if you're loving what you're doing and the only way to love what you do is to be where your feet are, you'll be like, okay, I'm home now and I'm going to continue my routine. Right. So one of the biggest things is to take your routine and then just create a new one. Don't lose the routine. Your
Mhm.
routine is very important, like for sure. So college experience, like what's the best part of being a Division I athlete?
The best part about it is the camaraderie,
Okay.
just meeting so many new people.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I mean, obviously you have your friends from when you were younger and in high
Mhm.
school, you know, kids that you're going to talk to for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But I'd say that I made so many close friendships in college that like I will cherish
Yes.
for the rest of my life. You know,
Mhm.
I have so many guys that I can name off the top of my head that
Yeah.
I'll talk to them in 20 years,
Sure.
you know? So I think that was the best part for me. And
Mhm.
obviously just competing at that level,
Yes.
you know,
Mhm.
like competing at a level in which, like you said, you know, you're not
Mm-mm.
you're not at the top anymore.
Yeah.
At least when you first get to school. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, some guys work
Mhm.
to the point where they're back there.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that I've ever gotten to that point where I
Yeah.
was like, you know, an all conference performer, but like I've had success in college,
Yes.
and it's so much sweeter, you know, like
Mhm.
because
It is.
you're
You're at the
around so
top.
many top level athletes, and you're like you prove to yourself, you know, I can do it too.
Yeah.
So
And you'll continue to go back to that, you know?
Yeah.
And those little things of, hey, I can do it too was, hey, I can work really hard. I can get through the mental health stuff. I
mhm.
can, you know, I can be there for my teammates. I can pick myself up to focus on the next play. Like, and I can compete with the best of the best. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, that's the reality of it.
Right.
You know, it's exciting.
That's the
mean,
sweetest part,
it's
no
the
doubt.
sweetest part. Like, I mean, I don't even know. What am I, 47? So I'm like 20 something years out. And I still can say to myself, you know what? I did that. Like, you
Right.
know, I did do that. So now when I'm down, I'm like, leaving teaching, I'm like, I'm going to leave. Like, you know, it takes courage to go be a Division I athlete.
Yeah,
It
for
takes
sure.
courage to stay there.
It's a big commitment.
It's a
and
big commitment.
That's what I
It's-
tell kids. You know,
Mhm.
I do a lot of stuff with PBR,
Oh,
Prep
that's-
Baseball Report, which is
okay.
like a recruiting service for younger
Yeah.
kids.
That's awesome.
And like that's just the biggest thing I'll tell them is just like
Yeah.
listen, if you're not really 100% in this, like it might not be for you, you know,
Yeah.
because it's not a job because it's I love doing it. But
Yes.
it's a full-time job,
Mhm.
you know, like
Mhm.
you're an employee of the school.
Yeah.
So like it's a big commitment that if you're
Mhm.
not 100% all in on,
Yeah.
you're gonna struggle. Like not
Mhm.
struggle, but you're really not gonna enjoy yourself.
No.
You know.
You have to be. You
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah.
It's really true. So we already talked about, like, I would say your number one resilience story was like admitting that you needed help and stuff
Mhm.
like that. Like, would you go through that again just because you've learned so much?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Like I
Mhm.
feel like after going through that, like I feel like you need to struggle is necessary
Yes.
in order to grow.
Yeah,
And
of
like no
course.
matter like all
Mhm.
throughout my life, like even when I was little, before I turned into the baseball player I was, like
Yeah.
I was a small kid and
Yeah.
I really wasn't very good. You know, like
Mhm.
when I first moved here, you know, I
Mhm.
was batting 8th or 9th in
Mhm.
T-ball, you know, like I wasn't very good at all.
Yeah.
So it took my stepfather Greg coming to
Mhm.
me and being like, you know, how bad do you really want to be good at this?
Yeah.
You know, and I had to look in the mirror and be like, you know, I really do, because I really love baseball.
Yeah.
It's like I really want to take this serious. And like,
Mhm.
you know, all that extra work from when
Yeah.
I was 10 to,
Yeah.
you know, 18 really started to pay off
Yes.
the older I got.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Your family, they're everything to you, right?
yeah, yes.
Big
Big
support.
family and friends.
Mm-hmm.
So
Very
like
cool.
I feel like they have been the biggest help for me, and like they're kind of the reason I do it. You know, I want to make
Mhm.
my family proud, and
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
even my friends. Like
Yeah.
I have friends that I would consider family. You
Yeah.
know, so
It's
it's
really
important.
cool.
They're a big part of my journey, no doubt.
Mm-hmm. What would you tell freshman year of high school Dante if you were to go back and give him advice?
I would try and drill that mindset into him of like being where your feet are
Mm-hmm.
back then. You know, because
Yeah.
I was so worried about getting to, you know,
Yeah.
I want to be able to drive. I want to get my license. You know,
Yeah.
I'm so excited to go to college. Like I'm so
Yeah,
excited to
the
get
next thing.
recruited, and like you don't take a second to stop and realize, you know, like I'm in the best of it right now. Like,
Yeah.
these are some of the best moments of your life,
Mm-hmm.
and I wouldn't say that it was to a point where like I missed out on anything or I
Yeah.
regret anything, but you know, just really taking a second to
Yeah.
take it all in
Yeah.
in those moments. You know,
Yeah. And when you're on the mound as a pitcher, like I'm so fascinated by the fact that it's you, the catcher, and what is that like? Like, what do
You're
you
on
love
an
about
island.
it? You're on an island.
You're on an island.
Okay.
Like you're in control out there. So.
Yeah.
You know, I think the tempo of the game,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a big thing for me, is I like to work quick just because I like
Yeah.
to keep my fielders involved.
Okay.
And I feel like just having that high energy and like your teammates start to feed off of that, and it makes it just so much more enjoyable. But you really are like it's a battle more so in your head than it is physically.
Yeah.
Just because you make a bad pitch.
Yeah.
You get to 2-1, 3-1. You're like, if I make another bad pitch here, like I could walk him and get a free base, and like that's when you really have to like.
So you hear the chatter in your head.
100%, and that was a big thing for me, especially in college.
Yeah.
Was like the mental side of it. Like I was so worried because I thought I had to be so much better and do things that, I had to do things that I wasn't accustomed to doing as a high school pitcher. In high school you could just throw your fastball, flip in a curveball, and you're gonna have success.
Yeah.
Whereas like in college, like you have to like pick your corners, you mix speeds, mix up rhythm. So it's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, at least for myself, like I would get into my head about it and I would start thinking about it in ways that I didn't when I was younger, and I would struggle.
Yeah.
But kind of just like I always go back to last year because like I had so much fun. Like I really got the passion of like playing baseball back, and I think just like put your foot on the rubber, and it's like it's me versus you. Like like I've done this before. I trust in myself.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna make this pitch, and my whole focus was just me and the catcher.
Okay.
Whereas like sometimes I wouldn't see the catcher because of what I was thinking about in the back of my head.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So it was just me and my man Brady back there. So that was it. I was just like, it's just me and you, bro. Like we're gonna do this today.
Yeah.
And
what was it like if you got pulled? What did you? I mean, obviously, what it was like your junior year is different to what it was like your senior year, right? So what did you tell yourself when you were more like mentally in line with yourself? So
like when you get pulled, it's not a great feeling.
Yeah.
And you hope you're doing well.
Yeah.
Like when you get pulled, like maybe it's just like you ran out of pitches type thing. But if it's not, and it's like a performance type thing, like obviously like I'm an emotional guy.
Okay.
And I feel like I allow myself to, feel those emotions right off the get. And like I'll allow myself, 5-10 minutes to kind of sit there and like be angry at myself.
Such great advice.
Like you got to give, because you can't just push it all to the side, because those are real feelings that you have to address. So like I give myself, 5-10 minutes on my own to just kind of like sit there and whether I want to punch something, I can't. But and then after that, you kind of just got to realize, it's over. I did what I could. I obviously can't change it now. So now it's just, all right, let me go be there for my teammates. Let me support them. And, it's a team game. So you gotta be in a spot where you can put all that to the side and, go support your teammates.
Yeah, that is really great that you say that, because people need to hear that. It's selfless. I mean, all you want to do is focus on yourself, and you can't anymore. Give yourself time, feel the feelings.
Right.
Most important thing. And then it's next play. It's this guy now, the new guy's on the mound. Now it's his turn, and now I'm going to cheer for him and make sure he's all right. Because a lot of people think that it's not a choice, and it is a choice. You have to make the choice to be a good teammate. You have to make the choice to let it go. Because if you don't, then it's nobody else's fault but your own. And that takes a long time for people to realize. Like it does. And then if you can't blame. People like to blame, right?
That tends to be the first thing.
The first thing
you think of. But, if this went this way, if somebody did this, maybe things would have turned out different. But it's just like, it's on you.
It is. It's not the coach's fault.
Right.
It's not your teammate's fault. It's not your parents' fault that they didn't do this for me. It's not my fault anymore. You know what? It's next time. And
it's not going to be the last time you get the ball.
No, exactly.
Yeah. You always have another opportunity to redeem yourself.
Yeah.
And not even redeem yourself, but just, go out there and give it your best effort. And if it turns out positive, that's great. But if it is negative, like, sometimes you're going to have to live with that. And like I said, you can take a couple minutes to yourself, because those are real feelings. You know? Like, but
I love a guy that talks about his feelings.
Yeah. I mean, those are real emotions and real feelings that you're going through. And it's I don't think it's good to, ignore them, because I feel like you should be able to experience that.
Yeah.
So you can learn, how do I get back into the state of mind where like I can be there for my teammates right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if you don't address it, like it's easy to just kind of sit there and like think about yourself for the rest of the game.
All right. I'm going to ask you to define 3 of my favorite words.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
How do you define grit?
Grit. Ooh, grit, I think, is, taking like external factors like weather, time,
Mm-hmm.
is it early?
Mm-hmm.
Is it nasty outside? Right? That can't have any effect on your work.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Love that.
that can't have any effect on like what you whether it's in the weight room or on the field, like what you set out to do before you got there. Anything like that can't have an effect on you to the point where like it makes you like not go as hard, or like maybe you cut things short.
Yep.
I think having grit is just like no matter the circumstance, like I'm gonna get what I need to get done.
Yeah.
What
is one word to describe Dante?
To describe me, I'd say I'm a very positive guy.
You are.
I feel like
very impressed.
A very positive guy in the sense that it's not that I struggle, but I don't respond well to like negativity, like being around like negative people and stuff like that. So I feel like I'm always trying to lighten up the mood, make sure everybody feels comfortable. Because I feel like when the vibe is good, when the vibe is high, like it's just so much more enjoyable to do whatever you're doing. Like if you're at work, if you're on the field, whatever you're doing,
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm there to kind of lighten the mood a little bit,
I'm going to touch base with you through your season because now you're a fifth-year senior.
Yes.
So now you're part of that culture that's going to create that. And it's really important for the guys to know that that's what you stand for, because that's what they're going to need. Now that you're at the top. You know what I mean? You're going to have these freshmen coming in, and it's like, it's your growth mindset. It's your positivity for sure. It's really cool. It's going to be different, Yeah. But you are ready, man.
100%.
I'm so impressed by your leadership, by just how you're so open to talk about this. I think it's really important for athletes to see, and especially for, all-in athletes, to have a guy like you come in here and talk so openly about your feelings, about your struggle, that it's important and it's necessary in
100%.
the world of athletics. And we're going to get you on board.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm all in. I'm all in. I'd say.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It'll be really great to have you and have you come speak to some of the schools I go to. I think that would be really fun.
Yeah.
You definitely have it in high school, you were a little more shy.
Yeah, no doubt. And I still am,
like,
unless I know you, unless
confident.
I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
But
we haven't talked since you graduated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we just I think we are on the same vibe. I think we both know what it takes. I think you struggled, you admit to it. It's the way of the world. We got to pick ourselves up.
No doubt.
You're going to take every lesson that you went through in athletics, Dante, and you're going to take it into the workforce. You're going to take it into your family that you create, and you're going to make a difference in this world. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I challenge you to keep this mindset, and can't wait to see what your fifth year brings.
For sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome.